So we're at Superbooth 2017 with Ralph from Random Source. We're going to talk a little bit about Surge and porting these ideas over to Euro-Rack as well. So just quickly to get started, how did you get into working with Surge modular systems?
Well, I think I got into working with the Surge systems first, and this is what I found extremely intriguing. I was on the fence between Euro and 4U format. And so I actually started both formats, but didn't really touch the Euro. And that's how I ended up doing the first album with the Surge. And I found it was just amazing to use this thing and without actually knowing what I was doing and just sort of having chance play its game. And that was an incredible experience.
Right, let's take a look at the 4U system. I think it's an amazing way to work with a grid that everything works on and the layout. And although we've got modules here, the original sort of panel idea of a Surge, I think you know buy a voice or an expansion for that voice and you work with those circuits. Is that why you found it easy to work with straight away, do you think, rather than being a more chaotic sort of Frankenstein Euro-Rack system?
Yeah, I think the way really to approach this, and that was for me essential, is that the Surge is really an instrument. It's one instrument rather than a system. So it's having just one setup, one instrument in a place where you can patch and use it in thousands or millions of different ways and permutations, but still it's an instrument and it's not so much something that you change on a daily basis. And also one thing that's very and that it sort of answers your first question is it's very hard. Many people who want to get into Surge ask, what do I need? I need oscillators, I need this, I need this. And it's very hard, unless you really know the modules and you use them, it's extremely hard to say what you like and how you actually use them. So the best is to start, use it for 1 month, 2 months, and then you decide, okay, I need another one, or I will, I want to expand in that direction. So it doesn't make much sense to think about this beforehand. And traditionally, the Surge was full panels only, and then you had some permutations and for some time custom panels, and a lot of people complain about the lack of flexibility in just being stuck to full panels, where you say, okay, I love 80%, but I definitely want this module in. So we came up with a 4x4 approach, which I think is a very nice compromise. So depending on what angle you look at, you don't see it's seamless basically, and but you can still swap around. You can have two discs next to each other, or you can then swap. But we also have some full panels like Edelweiss and La Bestia.
But even a single panel is really powerful, with things like the slope generators being a slew or a filter or an envelope or an LFO.
Exactly. So it's very deep, and that's also one of the reasons why it makes sense to have multiples of each module. Like the dual slope generator is, as you said, it's great from low pass functionality to all sorts of things. So it's great to have 2, 3, or 4, because you can then, you gain so much more by having a couple of them, and it gives you enormous flexibility.
So from working with these 4U Surge ideas and the circuits, and all this is officially licensed as well, should say that.
Also, Serge has been involved in the development, so we are in close contact. And yes, and so he's amazing. So if there's specific questions or any ideas where we expanded the functionality by, let's say, adding the pulse out on the NTO, for instance, or the added resonance on the variable slope filter, there's all changes that have been discussed with Serge, and he thinks it's great. The thing he's most excited about is really that the random source approach is not only to just do this and clone this and sort of keep it on a 9082 standard, but also to bring this forward to new use technology that hasn't been available then, or
yeah, and still in line with his vision.
Exactly.
So moving over from the 4U, the circuits are exactly the same in the Euro-rack system. Although the spacings are different, we're working on the same grid, the same style of patching.
Exactly. This was one of the sort of basic assumptions and working requirements for me to even enter the Euro world, was to really keep this serge in all aspects and not to try to Eurofy it. So the circuits are the same, the signal levels are the same. You can use both. I mean, of course, you need to have patch cords or some patch bay, but you can combine it. You can use it together. So there's no difference in sound. Obviously, the grid is different because you only have 5 rows here rather than 8. But we made some extensions on the Euro side, some added switches to account for the fact that people usually don't have stackables. So you have some cycle switches that you don't, or expo switches that you don't find in the 4U world. But other than that, it's really identical. If we do any recording, you cannot tell whether it was done on a 4U system or on the Euro system.
We should say as well, these are all available as DIY kits, which supports that original ethic of going and building a surge panel with him at a workshop himself.
Exactly. We're also working on moving towards production of complete modules, and some of them are already available, like the wave multipliers. And but so far, yes, it's very close to the original kit idea, and also the SMT kits are close to the original approach of selling pre-assembled boards and letting people do the assembly, but not everything else. So it's
yeah, brilliant.
And it's been ported to SMT, which is also a pretty big step.
Well, it makes that DIY process easier to have the board with the SMD on,
yes,
and then, like you said, do the hardware, the pots, the
exactly.
sockets, the panel.
Yes, so there's sort of less room to make mistakes, but also it gives us lots of opportunities on the development side, because we can use parts that are not available in through-hole at all. We can do modules where, due to space restrictions, would just not be possible in through-hole with that.
So not only the panel, the circuit board itself could physically be more dense with the SMD.
Yes, exactly. So it's like we have the upcoming will be the ASR, the analog shift register, for instance, where we will do 4 stages rather than 3 in 1 inch, while the original was 2-inch wide PCB board, but only 1-inch front panel, which made mounting very tricky. And so we'll have an added stage and still not require any additional space. So.
Wow. Brilliant. Well, thanks for talking to us about the systems and random source. And yeah, we'll come back and we'll get some audio in another video.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.